Question.
Thanks, Cian, and I'd also like to be associated with good wishes to Deputy Doyle on your reappointment. It's well merited, I think. Could I just ask you, your colleague, Minister Creed, told me a few months ago, I think, that 3 greyhounds were exported to Argentina in 2013, 33 in 2014 and 3 in 2015, 7 in 2016, although greyhound racing, in fact, has ceased in Argentina. But he also said that no greyhounds were exported direct from Ireland to Pakistan during 2016. But there's persistent rumours, Minister, that in actual fact those exports are taking place. You did, or your colleague did notice the EU, he mentioned to me before, the EU traces system, which looks at the export of animals throughout the European Union. But nonetheless, it does seem there are persistent rumours that there are significant exports to Pakistan where animals, the animal welfare regime is deplorable. And could just ask you finally then, in relation to the greyhound, the Welfare of Greyhounds Amendment Bill, a bill I sponsored myself, in fact, if the Minister, if you'll be adopting it and including it in your own legislation. Thanks, Cian.
Minister.
Thank you, Deputy, for your words. My department has a close working relationship with the welfare charities on all aspects of animal welfare. The department has in the past met with International Greyhound Forum, which includes members of Dogs Trust and the ISPCA, to discuss the issue of greyhound exports. Information received to date from my department's local offices indicate that no greyhounds were exported directly from Ireland to China or Pakistan to date this year, and 9 greyhounds were exported directly from Ireland to China in 2016. My department has access to the figures for exported dogs from Ireland to other EU member states through the European Commission's TRACE system. My department does not have figures for the movement of dogs that are, for example, exported to the UK, the most significant destination for Irish dogs, and subsequently exported to a third country. And I am aware of the Deputy's the Deputy introduced the private members' bill on this subject of the export of greyhounds. So my department officials are currently examining the bill, just to respond directly to that query. Once animal health and welfare standards set by the EU law for trade within the EU are met, dogs, including greyhounds, may be exported. Exporters are required to comply with EU law on the protection of animals during transport. The Irish Greyhound Board advises that all owners of greyhounds advises all owners of greyhounds to only export to destinations that provide the expected levels of greyhound care and management as defined in its own code of practice. That's a view which obviously we fully endorse.
Thank you. Deputy Broughan.
Thanks, Minister. Well, you remember last year, around the time the government was formed, I mean, there was a major public outcry in relation to the export of 3 Irish greyhounds to Macau, and where they would have been racing in the infamous Canadrome, where effectively dogs are raced to death, and subsequently, in fact, a couple of dozen Irish dogs were returned to Ireland when the transport authorities in the UK stopped them. And there's no, obviously, adoption or protection system in Macau or in China generally, but there has been a lot of evidence. I think constituents have been in contact in relation to persistent reports of exports to Pakistan, and videos have been uploaded on social media and so on showing animals being seriously maltreated with hunting animals and so on. And it is something I think that the Minister needs to address. You mentioned the thing about direct exports. Well, 80% of the dogs, as you know, in England, in the UK, are our dogs that were bred here, these beautiful, intelligent animals. And I wanted to ask you, have you made any contact with the equivalent department, with the Minister? I know you will be in relation to Brexit and so on, in relation to agriculture and fisheries, but with the equivalent department in the UK to bring this matter to their attention and to see what you could do together. And in that context, I think the bill I introduced, which was, of course, advocated strongly by Dogs Trust, the Dogs Trust welfare organisation. I think there's great anxiety that we would create this white list of countries who treat greyhounds well and treat dogs generally well, and that we could be an example, set the example, in fact, for Britain. So whether or not you've held any discussions like that, Minister.
Thanks, Debbie. Well, I'll have to find out. I don't have the answer because I'm the substitute today. But I think it would be useful to try and establish from the UK the level of, like you're right, 80% of the animals that are exported, that are in the UK, are exported from Ireland. So it would be helpful if we could have that level of information. But I think more than anything else with Brexit, having control over the UK post exiting the EU on the issue of further exports is going to be problematic if we continue to export to them, which we probably will. So it's something that I think needs to, there's a certain, because there's demand in some of the countries you mentioned, or an enthusiasm for this sort of activity. I think there's work to be done on that end from colleague organisations across the globe, really, in many ways. So it's these are global bodies like NGOs and the like. So I think there's a body of work to be done there too.
Just in relation, I mean, obviously, in terms of dogs and horses, UK and Ireland operates as a single entity, I think, in terms of breeding and racing and so on. So clearly there's an opportunity there, I think, for you, even in the context of Brexit, to ensure that the high standards are adhered to. And I just ask you again, in relation to the legislation, whether or not the government might just take it, or whether you put it as part of the Greyhound Industry Reform Bill that is being, I know Deputy Penrose has been doing a lot of work in that area, whether or not you can take it all together and improve the welfare of our greyhounds.
Thank you, Deputy.
It is part and a parcel of the new greyhound legislation. Obviously, it's an integral part. I think the bill that you have brought into the House is more comprehensive than that. And we're expecting to get the Deputy Kenny and Deputy McConnell will be aware. I think the Agriculture Committee hopes to furnish, return the Greyhounds bill post the pre-led scrutiny next Tuesday, when we will consider it. We will be anxious to expedite that bill. Now, we'll hard to get it done before the summer recess, but as quickly as possible. I think this would be better working in parallel rather than trying to morph the two into one. But yet the tripartite agreement, by the way, between Ireland, England and France has serious impact both for our horse industry as well as our greyhound industry, so it's something to take up.